In the ridiculously crowded world of crypto, a new project called BitTON AI is making a pretty bold claim. They say they have a blueprint for a token with real, actual, tangible value. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into their official communications and see if the plan really holds up.
So, let's just start with a question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. Why is it that so many crypto tokens launch with all this hype, all this noise, and then just fizzle out? They have no real-world purpose.
And you know what? It's a problem BitTON AI themselves are putting front and center. This quote from them isn't just some casual observation. It's basically their entire reason for existing. They want to solve this exact problem of digital stuff that doesn't connect to anything real.
All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at their big idea. Then, we'll dive into the tech, the tokenomics, and its real-world uses, which get pretty interesting, from gaming to green energy. After that, we'll see how you can get involved, and finally, what their grand vision for the future really is.
So first up, what exactly is BitTON AI? Well, they're pitching themselves as the answer to that whole no-value problem we just talked about. The idea is to build an ecosystem where all the digital tech is directly tied to real-world physical assets. And it's super important to know where they are on their journey. They call it the seed stage, which, is a fancy way of saying it's still very, very early. The main focus right now is on getting tokens out there and building a community, because all of that is supposed to lead to their ultimate goal, their very own blockchain that's governed by AI.
Okay, now for the fun part, the core tech. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of what's supposed to make all of this actually work.
So, their first big idea is this thing they call proof of progress. Now, they describe it as a deflationary model, and they actually compare it directly to Bitcoin's halving. The more the ecosystem grows, we're talking more users, more activity, the more expensive it gets to mint new tokens. The key takeaway here is that the token's value is meant to be tied to actual growth, not just someone deciding to print more. Their second pillar is proof of decentralization. And they frame this one less like a specific piece of code and more like a core belief system. The whole goal is to build an open validator model, which is just a way to make sure no single person or group can take over and control everything. It's all about keeping the network genuinely distributed. So we've covered the tech principles. Now let's pop the hood and look at the engine of this whole economy, the BTN token itself. And hey, does this number look familiar? Just like Bitcoin, the total supply of BTN is hard capped at exactly 21 million. No more, no less. This is obviously a huge part of their deflationary model. The goal is to create scarcity over time. So, if you're staking your tokens, where do the rewards actually end up? Well, this chart breaks it down pretty clearly. The lion's share, 70%, goes right back into your wallet. The other 30% gets funneled back into the project itself, split evenly between development, long-term planning, and just general ecosystem support. It's their way of funding future growth. Now, this is kind of interesting. During a workshop, they pointed out this pretty big gap. The official allocation price on their own platform was way higher than what it was trading for on Uniswap. They actually presented this as a potential opportunity for early birds. Buy the tokens cheaper on the open market and then bring them over to their platform to stake them at that higher effective value.
Okay, a token's design is one thing, but what can you actually do with it? That's what really matters, right? So let's look at how BitTON AI is planning to give BTN some real utility.
They're starting out with too many things. On one hand, you've got a mobile game called WattsTap. It's a play-to-earn setup where you get Watt tokens. And then on the other hand, you have something totally different, the Kilowatt token. They call this a real-world asset, or RWA, because it's literally backed by the electricity generated from a solar power plant over in Europe. So how in the world do these two things connect? This table lays it out perfectly. The BTN token is designed to be the one and only bridge between them. It is the only way to buy stuff in the WattsTap game, and it's also the only way to get your hands on those real-world Kilowatt tokens. So BTN is positioned to be this essential link, connecting a virtual economy with a physical one. All right, so let's say this all sounds interesting to you. What does it actually take to get involved? Let's quickly walk through the user pathway. They've laid out a three-step process. Step 1, you get your hands on some BTN tokens on a DEX like Uniswap, specifically on the base network. Step 2, you move those tokens over to their official staking platform, and they did mention a new web interface is on the way to make this part a bit smoother. And finally, step 3, you lock your tokens into a 135-day staking contract and start earning rewards.
Okay, let's zoom all the way out now and look at the big picture. Where is all of this supposed to be headed? What's the grand vision?
Their roadmap unfolds in 5 stages. We're in stage 1 right now. Stage 2 is when the game and the energy token actually launch. But stage 3, that's the real game changer, the launch of their own blockchain. After that, BTN becomes the gas that powers the whole network, which all leads up to their ultimate goal in stage 5, having every single validator on their network run on renewable energy.
And the team sums up their huge ambition with this one statement. To them, a ticket to the moon isn't just about the price going up. It's about building this whole self-sustaining ecosystem that actually links the digital world to real, sustainable infrastructure.
Look, it's a super ambitious blueprint, and it's trying to solve some of the biggest headaches in crypto. But at the end of the day, I think it all boils down to this one question. Can a single digital token really be the bridge that connects a simple phone game to a physical solar power plant? That's the core promise, and we'll definitely be watching to see if they can pull it off.